This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group, and your host of Washington Calling, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, we are fortunate to have a distinguished guest from India who's a member of parliament from the state of Sikkim, Mr. P.D. Rai, also known as Prem Das Rai. Mr. Rai, thank you very much for coming to our show. We greatly appreciate taking your time to talk to us. So tell us a little bit for our global audience who you are, and tell us a little bit about the state of Sikkim that you represent in Parliament.
Uh, Thank you, Frank, for having me on this show of yours, and I believe the show reaches many viewers. I am fortunate and that you have invited me for this show. My name is Prem Das Rai. I'm a member of Parliament in the Lok Sabha in India from the state of Sikkim. I'm just about to complete my second term, and let us see. Hopefully, I should be running for the third as well.
Okay, wonderful. Good luck to
I,
you.
I just would like to tell you that I'm also a technocrat and a management person in terms of my educational background, but I have been in politics long enough to understand that it is politics that makes all the difference.
So you mentioned you're alumnus of the two great institutions in India, IIT and IIM. So what made you to go into politics? Do you think you can make a difference? Do you think that politics creates a common cause? And why do you want to serve your country and also your state? And what impact or influence you can have on the people's lives being a politician, especially for your state, that you represent their constituency?
See, the main idea of getting into politics was to represent people and to get into a position in which we could impact lives through better public policy. And as I have been mentioning in so many places, the importance of being in parliament is that the voices of the people of the state can be made and amplified in New Delhi and in the corridors of the executive and the powers that be there. So this allows us to be able to impact many of the policies, be they political or developmental in nature.
So what I heard from you, Mr. Roy, that the you wanted to be engaged in politics because you want to make a difference. You want to make sure you have a seat on the table to make sure your voices are heard and you can create a common cause. And you were saying that everybody should be engaged politically. So you're not in the menu.
Everybody should everybody should be engaged in. I didn't hear that.
Right? Everybody should be engaged politically to make a difference.
I think so because in politics, you are with a larger party. You are able
Right.
to amplify the voice substantially. You are able to speak in parliament. And when you speak in parliament, all different sections of the parliament, they hear your voice, and as a result, you are able to create the kind of consensus that may be required at some stage to take any matter forward, any bill forward, any form of legislation forward.
See, politics define the landscape of any country, and that's the reason you're engaged. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your success. You have been two-term parliament in the parliament. What have been your success stories? What have you accomplished that has had a strong impact, influence on people's lives, especially your state of Sikkim?
So I would say that in the state of Sikkim, we have, for instance, today two major areas of focus. One is in the area of organic farming. We are the
Yes.
only state, perhaps in the world, which has taken a huge step in terms of policy, which ensures that every bit of farming done within the state is organically driven. And the second one is in the area of tourism and responsible tourism at that. Now, these two very major pillars are around which young people today are getting their livelihoods and their jobs. Besides the many of the other, say, drivers of the society, like social issues, like whether they be health or whether they be it be in education, are also
Right.
geared in such a way that it veers in this particular direction. Now, in order to get these policies going, there was a humongous effort on the part of the local government as well as on the part of central government to see that this particular set of policies are put in place, implemented well, and over time they were made and communicated to the rest of it, nationally as well as internationally. I believe that today, and on the 15th of October, let me tell you, Frank, it's a very interesting thing I would like to share with your viewers and your listeners,
Sure.
is that in
Sure.
the month of October, 15th of October, the FAO is honoring the state of Sikkim and my chief minister, and both the chief minister and I will be going there to receive the award. It is an
What's the
international award.
FAO stand? Oh, okay. What is it?
FAO is Food and Agriculture Organization, a
Oh, okay. Where
UN
is it
arm of
located?
the United Nations. It's an arm
So
of the
you'll
United
be
Nations.
okay. So you'll be in New York,
No, this will be in Rome. That's where the FAO
it will be
is
Rome. Okay.
headquartered.
Okay. Okay.
So
I
this
want
is,
to
you
shift.
know, it is it is a huge recognition
It
on the
sure
part
is,
of the
and congratulations, congratulations. You have been recognized for your effort, and you should be congratulated what you have been able to accomplish for this such a small state of in India, Sikkim. My question, I wanted to sort of shift the gears and talk a little bit about the you served under two administrations, UPA and NDA. What did you say has been the differences between the two? Do you think the India under this administration became more toxic, more polarized, and more divisive? Is the democracy descending, autocracy ascending in India?
Now, this is a difficult question for me to answer in a public forum like this. But however, let me try and make sense of it for your listeners. UPA was with the Congress Party, and the Congress Party was in the leadership, was held by the leadership, was holding the leadership. They did not have a full majority, and therefore their powers of legislation or the powers of public policy were limited by the kind of constraints put upon them by different actors who were in the UPA. Now, this is one scenario in which the maneuverability of the UPA of the Congress Party was less and more constrained. Uh, and Congress Party, in their sense, were muddling through because you may have known that one of the things that was said about them was that there was policy paralysis. There was a lot of paralysis in the way the implementation of policy was, whether it was framed and how it was implemented. There was a lot of paralysis, and it was true because, to be very fair to the opposition at that time, the opposition were being able to hold sway over much of the agenda, the development agenda as well as the political agenda in that period. However, in the case of NDA and in the case of, say, just let us look at the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi has a full majority in the House, in the Lok Sabha. But Modi is larger than any of the other prime ministers that have been hitherto. So, to some extent, I would say what you have said may be the kind of perception that is being given. It may also be true, but to a large extent, I would say that the previous problematic of policy paralysis is not there, and we are forging ahead as a nation in terms of, say, getting a lot of the development agenda done. I do believe that there is some serious concern from the the minorities as well as from the Dalits in terms of what their space that they can operate in has shrunk, and that the Hindutva agenda has moved a little, become a little larger. So that is,
So,
I can see.
do you think that India can rise above the angry partisanship and divisiveness and also make sure they can provide the inclusive economic opportunity and mobility to others, which includes the minorities and the Dalit? Remember, if they succeed, India succeed, all of us succeed, and the world succeeds.
I would think so. I would think that this kind of rhetoric that is happening just now is like is giving vent to a lot of the feelings that was suppressed over a large period of time, and that is very much you can see it in at play in many of the speeches and other things that are made by BJP and their their supporters. However, going forward into 2019, I'm optimistic that the the levers, or there would be much more. The BJP would be more contained. I must say, in terms of that they would bring in lesser numbers. The other parties would also rise. So the counterbalancing forces perhaps would come to play, and we would see a much more inclusive and a much more holistic way in which our country would move forward. I would say democracy would win, and let us see. And the people of India would, I'm sure, want to, they would give the direction in which the country would move.
I would hope so because the fact that as you know, the inclusive society usually succeeds, and when you're inclusive, you're stronger. When you're stronger together, you can build and hope build and shape a better future for India. So I wanted to
Yes.
change. I wanted to shift the gears and talk about two items that's a very, I know, important to you, important to the audience, about your integrated mountain initiative that you've taken, and you have been a leader of that. And also, I know you're an entrepreneur, and you mentioned that, and what role the entrepreneurs are in the Sikkim is doing to create the next generations and next youth. And I want you to shed some light and also give some advice to the young budding entrepreneurs, not only in Sikkim, but in India and around the world as well.
See, today, if you, given that we have a lot of young people in India, I think the focus of everyone is on the young and on the youth of this country. Because if the youth of this country will succeed, then this country will succeed. And we always talk of a demographic dividend, and we do not want to have a demographic disaster. So, if you ask me, what percentage of your time you spend with young people, and what percentage of your time do you spend thinking about young people, I would say almost 80%. That's the kind of mind space that is given to young people. Now, the Integrated Mountain Initiative is actually about uh, creating a platform to enable all the good work and development work which are being done in around 11 to 12 mountain states in this country to come together, share ideas, resources, as well as research and development so that we are able to uh, move forward on an agenda in which young people will get their livelihoods. The climate change would be tackled, especially in the mountains. The mountains are going to be impacted much more than other places. The temperature rise is going to be higher, glaciers are going to melt. We are already seeing signs of that. So we are working towards ensuring that all these big ticket items get the kind of governmental attention in every mountain state. And we are also going to present our findings and suggestions to the 15th Finance Commission, which has been constituted by the government, so that a lot more resources are provided to the mountain states. So, this is really targeting mountain states and the development agenda from across all the mountain states, learning from each other and ensuring government, the Niti Aayog and others also take a look at the need of the hour as far as the mountain states are concerned.
So, as you know, do you think the entrepreneurs are made or born? And what's the advice you have for the younger generations of the entrepreneurs in terms of the thrill of being an entrepreneur, and what kind of things you want to infuse and instill in them so they can be a very important part and parcel of India's growth and mobility?
Well, whether the mountain areas or the other parts of the country, the startup mechanisms, startup ecosystems are being, promoted right across the country. Even in my
Okay.
state, we have startup ecosystems set up. Young people are now being able to do both tech, agro-tech, become agropreneurs. Like I told you earlier, that we have two major, pillars. One is the pillar of responsible tourism in the mountains, and the other is the pillar of organic farming. Both these areas, huge number of startups have already come up, and I believe they are going to be the new, it's a new feature. Recently, there was a major on Entrepreneurship Day. There was a major celebration of sorts, and young people actually came forward and said that this is the way, to go, because through startups and becoming entrepreneurs, because government jobs are not there. So it is not about saying because there is no government job that we need to become entrepreneurs, but rather we become entrepreneurs because we want to be entrepreneurs. And I think that's the kind of spirit that the
Well,
young people are
that's a
now.
wonderful thing
Uh,
to do, and
yeah,
you're
yes,
tapping
that's kind of,
you're
yeah.
tapping upon those resources. My question to you: how do you provide the seed money for the startup company? Is the government providing that? Are you having the diaspora community or the other people who are helping the startup company to provide the capital for them to grow or to
So,
start up?
so there's a lot of venture capital coming in from Bangalore.
Okay,
There are venture capital which government provides, which is not very efficient, I must say, I must add. However, uh, it is there. And we
okay,
had, I was, in fact, responsible for what is known as the Chief Minister's self-employment scheme, which was started in 2002. And that was actually not, we didn't know it as venture capital at that time, but little bit of seed money was given from the government side for young people to start off. And I must say that there have been quite a number of success stories around that. However, the present generation is looking at what Bill Gates did, or what, yeah,
Facebook did,
the
right?
Apple,
Mark Zuckerberg
yeah,
did.
what Steve Jobs did. Now, that's the kind of, icons that they are
Mentality,
chasing.
yeah, good.
If this is that particular generation and the generation next, and sometimes I wonder, maybe we don't understand them well enough, and so just need to, whatever they want, we say, all right, let's go ahead and do it. Let's understand what you can do. And but the idea is to create a value. It's a value proposition. We all know the challenges of AI, we know the challenges of robotics. All
Yeah.
this is out there. But in spite of that, we need to make things happen for young people. Yes.
I wanted to ask you two questions before we close our conversation. Number one is, how do you tap upon the resources of the India diaspora to help achieve your potential in the state of Sikkim? And also, I want you to tell me a little bit about the fact that you have taken a lot of leadership courses in Oxford, Harvard, and Princeton. And I happen to be on the board of the Harvard University where I'm going next week to attend the board meeting. Do you think that helped you in personally and also in your political career by taking those leadership courses in those distinguished universities in the United States as well as in England?
No, I think first and foremost, I must say, whoever helped me get to these places, they are blessed. I mean, they're really blessed because you know, you go to say in Oxford or you go to a Harvard or you go to a Princeton, and you come back, thinking a little differently about the world. You start comparing about problems that exist within our local situation, nationally as well as internationally. And I think there's huge learning in that, and
Yeah,
that gives us the mind, the innovation that can is then possible in terms of public policy, which we bring to bear to help our people. Now, the second question regarding diaspora, we have
right,
not yet tapped into that. Maybe Frank,
right.
you might be the right, conduit for that, and I would
Well,
certainly encourage you in the future because I do think that Sikkim is truly at at a stage of takeoff. We are, by the way, we have conquered in this state under the leadership of our Chief Minister Pawan Chamling, who is now at the helm of affairs and the longest serving Chief Minister in India. Uh, we have conquered poverty. There is no one who is poor in our state. We have the highest rate of literacy now anywhere. Our
wow.
human development indices are perhaps the highest in the country. So, as a small state, we have moved to a very, very high rate of prosperity as well. Now, what do we need to do is to be able to tap into global resources and global markets to be able to do to take Sikkim to the next level. And I think it is possible. I'm willing to engage as a member of parliament. I've never shied away from engaging with anybody. And Tarun Basu, your good friend, who
Yes.
recommended me to your program, I'm sure you will hear from him that this is one thing that I love to do. How do we make Sikkim better? How do we make India better? How do we help the millions of people in our country get away from poverty, get away from malnutrition, get away and balance our population even as we go. So these are the big ticket items that we need to think about as we go along.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much. Is there anything I can do to help achieve your goal, your missions, and your objectives? So I'll be more than happy to do that, considering the fact that I have a very, very, very busy schedule. Uh, but however, I'm willing to help. And I want to thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for making a difference. You have made an impact on me personally, and I'm sure you have made an impact on the audience as well. So I want to thank you very much for coming. And this is Frank Islam, wishing you a great week, and thank you for watching.
Thank you very much for having me.